Hello everyone, so today we're going to be having another Let's Have a Chat series. So my question for you is, should adolescents who commit serious offenses be tried and convicted as adults? Here's my response to that. Crimes committed are to be punished by a sentence. It is whether or not we decide that adolescents should be tried as adults. Do adolescents have the ability to understand that their actions have long-term implications, or are they just caught up in the moment of the action? Some argue that they should be tried and convicted as adults since the crimes are serious, though others believe that they should instead go through rehabilitation. The issue of trying adolescents with adult-level punishment is a tested debate, both sides arguing either for or against adolescents serving adult jail sentences. David Mears is the associate professor for the College of Criminology and Criminal Justice at Florida State University, advocates that adolescents who commit serious offenses should be tried as adults. Mears stresses that public safety should be a top priority, and in order for society to function properly, we have to punish them in accordance to the offense that they have committed. Lawrence Steinberg is a distinguished university professor at Temple University. Another advocate is a law professor by the name of Elizabeth Scott from the University of Virginia. They argue that adolescents don't necessarily understand the gravity of the crimes that they commit, and therefore should not be tried as adults. Both sides offer their arguments and points of view on this social problem that still plagues our society. The dilemma of trying adolescents as adults. Over the course of many decades, there have been cases where adolescents have been convicted of horrendous crimes, but were still tried as a juvenile because of their age. The vice versa has also been documented. Steinberg argued that the teenage brain is like a car with a good accelerator but has a weak brake. That's on page 340. Meaning that adolescents' brains aren't fully developed to understand that the crimes they commit have lifelong effects on not just them, but whole communities. Research documented. For the advocates against adolescents being tried as adults, and these people seem to be pressing the circumstance that these adolescents don't know what they are doing or are incapable of understanding the consequences of their actions. Most of their reasoning comes from brain maturation, as many teenagers are unable to make decisions as quickly or as intellectually as adults can. With this in mind, the authors consider the likely scenario that adolescents can persuade others through peer pressure to commit horrible atrocities, where they plan and orchestrate murders for their own or others' pleasure. Many of the arguments stress an alternative such as rehabilitation or other means of showing the adolescent why the crime was so drastic, which shocks the individual in hopes that they won't do the same crime again. They admit that more data needs to be received in order to adequately charge someone with a life or death sentence. The overall research and justification helps to validate their stance on the issue, while understanding that there is still more to be done. In regards to those who want adolescents to be tried as adults, research is plentiful. However, their conclusions leave much to be desired. Most of their arguments for convicting adolescents of adult sentences appear to come from a wide variety of experiments and surveys which can alter depending upon the demographic and the variations of questions that are answered, with their respective responses also taken into consideration. Although this leaves more questions needing to be answered, from their research via the National Opinion Survey of Crime and Justice, they were able to conclude that men typically have more of a tendency to agree than women on convicting adolescents as adults. That's found on page 330. Another example is the case of 16-year-old Sarah Johnson, who brutally murdered her parents because they wouldn't allow her to see her boyfriend, was later sentenced to life in prison. This shows an adolescent who is not thinking about their consequences, because they are only after their own desires. These advocates, too, understand the other side. My personal thoughts. My view on this debate has changed after considering both arguments. I have come to the conclusion that I am against convicting adolescents of adult sentences. Originally, my thought was if you commit a crime, you should serve the maximum penalty under the law. Although putting a young adolescent in the prison system without rehabilitation makes them more susceptible to repeat offenses. I believe that rehabilitation while they are young can hopefully deter them from future crime in the future. Killing people outright isn't the answer. They should be given a second chance at life, and I'll link a few YouTube videos in the description below that help me formulate this new thought process. The final verdict. Both sides of the issue of sentencing adolescents as adult criminals have pros and cons. One argues that adolescents know what they are doing and therefore should be punished with the degree of the crime they committed, while the other approaches the matter as an opportunity to understand and change the adolescents' bad decisions into a positive later in life. Maybe not for them, but for younger individuals in their society. Rehabilitation is a better alternative than life behind bars.